We stopped off at the Square Enix digs here at GDC to get a look at Quantum Conundrum. That's not just a tongue twister, but also a brain teaser or twister. Or
it definitely lets you kind of know what you're in for in the game.
so, what was the sort of the first idea, the first concept that you came up with for this game, and what did you want to try and do?
Kim really liked kind of like the first-person puzzle elements of the game, so she really wanted something that would kind of tickle your brain, also kind of have some fast interaction, being able to swap dimensions on the fly, so really kind of mixing those two elements, so you're using your brain and sort of your platforming skills at the same time.
I think these kind of physics puzzles things, it's a popular trend these days. There's a lot of them out there. What would you say sets Quantum Conundrum apart from the pack?
I think it's really the ability to switch your dimensions on the fly, so changing the physical qualities of the entire world as you go, so you can pick up something in fluffy dimension because things are 10 times lighter, toss it in the middle of that, you freeze into slow motion, jump on there, switch back, you may have to switch to heavy to get through a laser, so just doing all these things on the fly before you get a laser in the face is pretty much what you're trying to do.
It's really two challenges here. First, you have to figure out what to do. Next, you have to actually pull it off in real time,
yes,
which can sometimes be pretty tricky.
Yeah, there's definitely some brain-teasing elements to the game. You definitely want to stop and think about what you're doing before you jump off the cliff a little bit. And yeah, it's definitely kind of tickles your brain a little bit.
I would say now you mentioned like 3 different dimensions here, and it's kind of abstract to anyone watching this if they don't see the video, what's going on at the time. Can you sort of give us a little bit of background to how the dimensions work and what the player does?
Yeah, so we have 5 different dimensions. We have normal dimension, which is the world you're in. We have fluffy dimension, where everything becomes 10 times lighter, sort of turns into a giant plush toy that you're walking around in. We just revealed heavy dimension. Everything turns 10 times heavier. It's very dense. Everything sort of gets a metal makeover. Slow motion. Everything turns obviously turns slower, so you can now interact and run around the things that you just threw. We also have reverse, where everything is turned on its end, and everything moves upwards instead.
And I just played it a little bit, and there's a lot to think about, a lot to consider there. But I think that the puzzles were kind of in the demo. They were kind of like holding me a little bit in the hand, so I understood what was going on. Because it does sound like a lot to take in, all of the things that you're explaining, and you can combine them in any way. But you have sort of designed the puzzles with like a certain solution in mind, or is it more freeform?
There are a few more freeform things where you can kind of find a few different ways to get through the level. But I mean, for the most part, we try to ramp the player up, kind of introduce the different skills, and introduce them to the different properties of the dimension. So, as you saw, you're sort of shown fluffy at first, and you get a chance. Now I can pick objects up that were normally heavy, and I can toss them around. And we just start with really basic, put the safe on the scale, and then we start getting to more elaborate puzzles. What else can you do with fluffy? How do they react to the different environments? Can you toss them, but where can I toss them? How do they react to a giant industrial fan? Things like that.
So in terms of the art style, what kind of thing were you aiming for? What were you going for? And how does it fit with the fiction and the world?
We just with the nature of the fact that you could change entire dimensions, there were some that were definitely easier to interpret with fluffy. I mean, it just that really light quality. We really wanted to just do a complete makeover of the world, and we wanted to go with a little bit friendlier. I think we could still appeal to a broader audience just by making a little bit more, I guess, friendly. And just because of the abstract nature, as you were mentioning, of the mechanics, we wanted something that was just really readily apparent. And then the fact that we were doing a complete makeover of the world, we wanted something a little bit simpler that we could make in the amount of time that we had.
Is it a lot of fun? Because you're showing it off to journalists here, of course. Mm-hmm. Is it a lot of fun to see people get their hands on it for the first time and experience experiment with it?
Oh yeah, it's been really exciting to finally get to see people get their hands on the game and just see the look on in their eyes when they get it. There's definitely those aha moments in the middle of a puzzle, like, that's what I need to do, and those are really the moments that I always have fun in the puzzles when I've been testing them, and the designer will have us sit down and try it, and seeing that look on people's faces, I think for me is really fun.
Because I think what you do is through the demo, you're sort of letting the hand user sort of show that this is something you can use, this is not something. But at some points, you have to sort of take that leap of faith and see, could I possibly do this, or is that possible, or what happens if I do this?
Yeah, there's definitely those sections of the puzzles, and I think there's some of them in the demo, and that you'll see in the full game. Is you definitely see the player think, no, they didn't really want me to do that. They couldn't possibly have meant for me to do that, and they try it, and there's like, yes, I really wanted to throw that, or just whatever the object is, or whatever the mechanic is, and those are the fun parts to kind of design, is like where they get that, wow, I really wanted to do that when I saw Fluffy Dimension, or I saw Heavy Dimension, and now they're letting me do it, and that's, I think, some of the fun.
And what platforms and when are you aiming to release it?
We're going to be available on XBLA, on PSN, and through Steam.
And any sort of idea of a date?
Right now, we don't have any solid launch dates, but we'll be available this summer.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.